This next story is about Snail's arduous journey to the spring at the bottom of the ocean. And so the Dene were in the fifth world, the present world, trying to make it more habitable. They now had the four sacred mountains to protect them from the sea monsters and from the ferocious waves that came from the ocean. They had Mount Blanca, White Shell Mountain, in the east. They had Abalone Shell Mountain, the San Francisco Peaks, in the south. They had Turquoise Mountain, Mount Taylor, in the west. And they had Obsidian Mountain, Mount Hesperus, also known as Cannel Coal Mountain, in the north. But there was a problem that first woman and first man had to address. The Dene that were here in the present world lacked fresh water. And they knew that it was going to be needed in order to maintain life in this present world. There were no springs, there were no creeks, there were no rivers. There was only two sources of water in the present world. One was from the Lake of Emergence, and it was salty and silty. The other was the ocean water, and it too was too salty to drink. And so First Woman checks all of the people to see if any of them by chance might have brought fresh water with them. She checks the on-earth people, the under-earth people, the water people. She goes to Beaver to ask him, is there any chance he might have brought water accidentally from the lower world and didn't know? But he had none. She checked with Otter, who was so playful and loved the water that maybe by chance he might have bought a magic reed filled with water. But no, he didn't have any water either. She checked Turtle to see if by chance he might have any water. But no, he didn't have any either. And then she went to Frog to see if he had any. Maybe some water had been absorbed into his body that they might be able to use. Because First Man had magic power, and if he could have even a few drops of water, he could form the springs and the creeks and the rivers with the fresh and pure water that the people needed in the present world. So First Woman asks the sky people to see if they can go as high as they can, to get water from a cloud or to bring mist to earth. And so they agree to do that. Bluebird flies to the east to see if he can't find some water in the sky from a cloud or the mist. But he is unsuccessful. Finch goes to the south to see if he might be able to find water or to get some yellow mist from one of the mountains and therefore help First Man magically create the springs and the rivers and the creeks and the fresh and pure water that the people need. But he too is unsuccessful. Cardinal flies to the west to see if he might be able to get some water such that the people would be able to have trees and vegetation and fresh water for their ceremonies and for other needs that they had. He too is unsuccessful. Magpie flies to the north, hoping that he might be able to get water. The mountain of the north Mount Hesperus, Obsidian Mountain, is known for snow and ice and hail, and maybe from one of these sources he might be able to bring some back to first man so that he can create the pure water that is so needed by the Dene. In addition to these sky people, First Woman had also checked with White Crane, but he was unable to provide any water. She had checked with Yellow Grebe, but no, he had not brought any water from the lower world either. She checked with Duck to see if maybe underneath his feathers there might be some water. But no, he had no water either. She checked with Loon, who had such a beautiful song from the north, and he too had no water. And so again, the sky people had been unsuccessful. And so First Woman checked with the earth people to see if they might travel in the 4 different cardinal directions and see if they had any success in finding water. The Apache people went to the east. The Hopi people went to the south. The Zuni people went to the west. And the Ute people went to the north. The Navajo people, the Dene, checked in the center, but they found no water anywhere. And so First Woman turned to the under-earth people to see if in the tunnels or the crevices underneath the earth where they lived, the gophers, the various digging animals, the badgers, to see if they might have any water. But no, they were not successful either. She checked with the water people, turtle and frog, who again agreed to go forth, to see if they could find any water, but they couldn't. They knew the only way to get fresh water, based on the wisdom of one of their people, was going to be from a spring at the bottom of the ocean. This holy person said, there is only one place to go for good, pure water, and that is deep down under the ocean, where a spring of clear, clean, pure, cold water comes up from under the lower world mountains. Someone must go there and bring back the pure water we need in this new world. The Dene knew, as we do today, that there are mountains under the ocean, that there are tectonic plates creating, the surface of the earth. And so they knew this was a place where there was going to be fresh water. And so first man decides he is going to take action to help the people get fresh water. And so first man decides he must make a bottle for the water to be carried up from the lower world. And so he makes a water bottle with white shell beads that he coils around into circles. He uses a red coral stopper. He blows upon this creation that he has made to enlarge it, like a glass blower blows today when they are making glass objects. And so he created a water bottle. Now he must find someone who would take it to the lower part of the ocean to get water for the people. This is the water bottle that first man created, with the white coiled beads and with the red coral stopper. This was what the person going down to the lowest part of the ocean must take and bring back pure, fresh water. And so first man seeks volunteers. Otter and beaver volunteer to go down. And so they are very excited to take this water bottle and to go. And so they begin their trip and they go down within the ocean. And they are so surprised that under the ocean is all of this flora and fauna just growing. You know, there are sea mosses, there are ferns, there are vines, there are roots, there are bulbs, there are water lilies, there's watercress, bulrushes, cane grass, willow, tamarack, witch hazel, sedge. They are just so amazed to find all of this water growth. And so they are distracted. And they stop and they decide, you know, we have to bring this back to the earth. This is all going to be very helpful to the first people. And as they're living on the earth and when they have water, all of this will be a gift to them. It can grow near water sources. And so they bring back the mosses and the ferns, the vines, the roots, the bulbs, the water lilies, the watercress, the bulrushes, the cane grass, the willow, the tamarack, the witch hazel, the sedge. But they forget the water bottle. They leave it behind. And so they come back. And first man asks them, where is the water bottle? We are so thankful and grateful that you have brought all of this flora and fauna to us. It is so wonderful. In fact, when we do have water, when we have lakes and ponds and marshes, we will put you in charge of them. But we still need water. We are going to have to do something about it. And so first man says we must have someone that is willing to volunteer to go and get the water bottle that otter and beaver have forgotten, and to bring it and take it to the lowest part of the ocean to get the fresh water that we need. Who will go? Frog and turtle volunteer to go. And so they go down into the water to get it. And so they are carrying the water bottle, and it is very heavy. And so they head down underneath there, and the water bottle that Turtle has been carrying, it has made him, go up along the surface of the ocean bottom, and he has scarred his stomach, and his back, has scratched against coral. And so he needs to stop. He needs to take time because he has to do something to protect his stomach and his chest and his shoulders and his back, which are becoming scarred. And so he thinks of getting shells and creating him armor. Armor for his chest and his stomach, armor for his shoulders and his back. And so he takes these shells and breaks them into pieces and creates a mosaic, a pattern of shells that he puts on his chest and his stomach and his back and his shoulders. And Beaver looks at it and he says, boy, that is really pretty. It's made a wonderful mosaic pattern. And Frog also agrees. And so he stops and then he gives the water bottle to Frog to carry. And so Frog takes it for a time, but it is a very heavy water bottle. And Frog's eyes begin to bulge from the weight. His knees bend from having to carry the water so far, and they stop. They go ahead and they use the water bottle to get water from the place they are at. But that water is filled with algae and moss and water bugs. They bring back the water bottle filled with this water. But first man pours it out and he sees that it has the algae and the moss and water bugs, and he thinks, no, this is not the water we were looking for. And so he sends him to live in this water area, that has the algae and the moss and the water bugs. But they will be the rulers of this area, of all the shallow water and the marshes, because they have done their best. They have gone and they have tried to bring back the water that the people so badly need. But from then on, the turtle will wear a hard shell, and the frog will have bulging eyes and crooked legs. But the people will know from how they look what they have tried to do. And so first man asks for a volunteer. Who else might be able to go to this lowest part of the ocean to get the water that is so desperately needed? To take this water bottle, to fill it up, to put the coral stopper in, and to make the journey back. And at the same time to avoid the scaly sea monsters and the other double-teethed fish that still live in the ocean. It is a very arduous and difficult task that he is asking someone to volunteer for. Snail steps forward and says that he will volunteer. All of the people that have been watching all of this as the different volunteers have journeyed forth think Snail is so small. How might he be able to do this? And yet first man says, yes, if you want to volunteer, you may do so. And so Snail drags that heavy water bottle along the ocean floor as he makes his way to the lowest part of the ocean. And he is able to do it. He is able to fill the water bottle with the fresh water and the coral stopper. And he begins his journey back. But all of the people that have been sitting around waiting and watching what is going on get tired. They think, no, Snail must not have made it. He must have been eaten by one of the water monsters. And so they go back to their homes and their daily activities. But no, Snail has come back. And so he has come back to the surface of the earth, and he is dragging the water bottle along the ground because it is so heavy. And he makes a hole in the water bottle. The water drips out as he is going along. It makes a shiny trail behind him as it drips along the earth. Finally, Snail stops, and he decides to crawl in the empty water bottle and sleep. He is tired. He has worked very hard. He is also very disappointed because here he had been successful in going to the lowest part of the ocean, braving all of the sea monsters in order to get this water that was so needed by the people. And yet now, because of the hole made in the water bottle as he dragged it along the surface of the earth, he has lost all of the water. First man finds Snail, though. He finds him asleep inside of the water bottle. But what Snail doesn't know, who is so disappointed in himself, is that from the dripped water along the surface of the earth, first man is going to be able to use his magic power. He sprinkles bulrush pollen on this water. He sings, he chants, and from his magical water, from his wondrous singing and chanting, he is able to create rivers, rivers of fresh water, and they flow forth. From the water that is still in the bottle, he sprinkles bulrush pollen on it, and he sprinkles it upon the earth. He sings, he chants, and this water forms fresh springs. He tells Snail, this white shell will be your home, and wherever you go, you will carry it with you. You will leave a moist, shiny trail as you travel, and it will remind the Dene of your bravery, of your arduous journey to the lowest point of the ocean to bring us fresh water. You will be the guardian of all springs. You will have the responsibility to keep fresh and pure water flowing, to make sure that we will always have pure water. We will honor your bravery, and we will never forget what you have done. And so we had otter and badger being in charge of all the water in lakes and ponds. We had frog and turtle being in charge of all the water in marshes. And we had snail being in charge of the water in the springs. And so now the first people had the water that they so desperately needed.